Still remember the moment my heart dropped when my parents looked at me and said, "We didn't have enough space for her, yes her." My little sister, only 6 years old. They were abandoning her, packing her bags, leaving her in my care for a full week. And they expected me to be okay with it. Was I wrong for feeling rage instead of relief? Tell me if you would have done the same thing. It started earlier this year when my parents announced that we were going on a week-long trip. I was 19, living at home, working part-time, all regular stuff. My little sister, Lily, 6 years old, cute, bubbly, full of energy, I loved her, but the truth was, our house was small, our schedule was tight, and we were just about getting by. My folks said they needed a break from the routines. They said they were going to visit some distant relatives, stay somewhere nice for a little downtime. I was kind of excited for them, and then they dropped the bomb, "We're leaving Lisa with you. We just don't have enough space for her, Lisa." Lily, my sister's name was Lily, but when I say her, here I mean Lily. I'll call her Lily to keep it clear. They called me in, arms full of duffel bags, the kind you'd take on a flying, out-of-town sort of trip. I remember the smell of new clothes, the zip of the suitcase snapping shut, the excited chatter from my mother about the pool and the hotel. Meanwhile, I was just standing there, bag in hand, and they casually dropped this. "We don't have enough space for her." And I looked at them and said, "What do you mean?" They said, "We can't bring Lily. She'll stay here with you for the week." My blood went cold. I stuttered. I said, "You mean, I'm babysitting. My father said, 'Not babysitting. You're in charge. You'll be responsible. We'll be gone.'" And just like that, they left. No big discussion, no planning. Just, "We can't bring her. You've got her." I felt betrayed, confused. Angry, and my sister's eyes went wide. She didn't understand. My parents told her it was a sleepover at our place, like a fun thing, but I knew what it really was. They were escaping. And I was left with this responsibility I hadn't signed up for. In the days leading up to their departure, I scrambled. I had my job, my classes, my social life. I already lived my own life, and now I was suddenly thrust into full-blown caretaker mode. I was excited at first. This will be fun, a week with Lily. I told myself that. We could watch cartoons, bake cookies, build pillow forts. But quickly the excitement faded when reality slammed in. I had to wake up early to get her ready for school, pack her lunch, make sure she brushed her teeth, tie her hair. The alarm buzzed at 6:30 a.m., when normally I'd roll out at 8:00. I watched her stumble in the morning, eyes droopy, clutching her backpack. I had to drop her off at her bus stop, then hurry to work, then pick her up, then help with homework, then prepare dinner, all while trying to maintain my own routine. Meanwhile, my parents were sending photos of a pool, a fancy breakfast buffet, a spa. They were relaxed. They were free, and I was drowning. Inside, I felt resentful. I felt like I got drafted without consent. I didn't ask for this, and Lily was looking at me like I was adult enough to handle it, which I wasn't, not really. The mid-week hit me hard. Wednesday morning I found myself lying on the couch at noon, exhausted. Lily asked if we could bake cookies. I said sure. I stirred dough, scooped chocolate chips, wiped flour off the counter. Her giggles echoed, innocent and bright. But as the timer ticked and the cookies browned, I snapped. I shouted at her, "Please just go play somewhere else for 5 minutes so I can breathe." She froze, looked up at me with tearful eyes. My heart sank, my resentment burst into raw shame. I knelt down and apologized, hugged her, told her I loved her, that I'm sorry. She smiled and nodded, such a small soul, forgiving me instantly, trusting me despite how I had behaved. From that moment, I realized this wasn't just about me being burdened. It was about Lily. She didn't deserve to be a substitute for my parents' vacation. She deserved to be seen, nurtured, loved, not left behind like we couldn't accommodate her. And yet here we were. I felt a fury for my parents I hadn't allowed myself to feel yet, and guilt for being short with her. I carried both, so that brings me to where I was. juggling adult responsibilities, and yet suddenly held accountable for a child whose life should have included my parents' presence. So that's the situation I was in, and I had to make a choice. But before I tell you what happened next, I want you to pause and comment below what you would have done in my shoes. Would you have said no to your parents? Would you have demanded they rearrange their trip? Would you have tried to enjoy the week with your little sister, despite one knee still in anger and exhaustion? Let me know in the comments now. Back to Thursday morning. I woke up stiff, sore from a restless night where I kept worrying. Will I be enough? Will Lily feel abandoned? Will my parents actually check on us or vanish into daily cocktails by the pool? I made pancakes, tried to cheer her up, but she couldn't quite shake this quiet. She asked if Mommy and Daddy were coming home tomorrow. I said yes, then left the tomorrow, unsaid in my head because I honestly didn't know. They had told us they'd be gone a week, yet time felt stretched. Thursday afternoon, I found we were out of clean pajamas for her. I ran to the store, grabbed a pair, returned to find an unread book open, Lily fast asleep with her blankets tucked under her little chin. I watched her breathing, that steady, calm rise and fall of childhood innocence, and I felt the full weight of parenting crash into me. I wasn't just looking after her, I was her world for the moment. Then Friday arrived, the halfway mark. I thought maybe I'd reached some sort of rhythm. We went to the park, flying kites, duck feed, ice cream cones. For a happy few hours it was just me and her, and I felt proud. But later that night I overheard a conversation on the phone, my father telling a relative that they'd just left it all behind for a week. A tone of relief I recognized as selfish. In that moment I felt rage again, but deeper, because it wasn't just them escaping, it was them escaping us. I realized I needed to do something, not something dramatic in a childish revenge sense, but something that made clear their action wasn't okay. I planned a small surprise for Lily. I told her we were going to make a family time capsule, me, her, and the two of our parents. I told her we'd bury something in the backyard and write a letter to our future family, saying how we felt. I thought maybe this gets them back in the game, even for a moment. Saturday came, I bought a small metal box, we wrote the letters. Lily wrote, "I miss Mommy and Daddy," in big scrawls. I wrote, "You left me with my sister," in a less baby hand. We buried it together and took a plastic shovel. As I was lowering the box, I looked over my shoulder. The house was silent. No parental footsteps echoing down the hallway, just the two of us. And in that silence I felt it. The betrayal, the abandonment, the weird loneliness of being supposed to be someone's parent for a week, while the actual parents were off enjoying themselves. Sunday morning was the climax. They were supposed to land back. I had Lily playing her cartoon. I sat at the window waiting. Then the door clicked. My parents walked in, bags in hand, sunburnt cheeks, big smiles. Lily jumped up and ran, "Mommy, Daddy." Her hug melted some of my anger for a second. But then I watched them drop the bags and say, "Thanks for everything." And they sat down, ready for dinner, like nothing had happened. I looked at them, and I couldn't hold it in. I stood voice shaking, and I said, "Do you know how you did this to her? You said you didn't have space. You left her with me without any plan, without any apology, and I ended up parenting a 6-year-old when that should have been your job." My mother looked surprised. My father looked a little guilty, but also annoyed. They muttered something about vacation stress and needing rest, and I said, "Okay, but you can't just walk back in and act like everything's normal." This mattered. My dad tried to brush it off, said lighten up. My sister meanwhile sat quietly, tucking her drawing into her lap. I realized the damage wasn't just the week. It was in how they treated her like an afterthought. So I gave them one simple instruction, tonight: sit with Lily, talk to her, ask her how she felt, help with her homework, then apologize to her for leaving her behind. They looked at each other, somewhat embarrassed, then turned to Lily and did just that. And the thing is, watching them kneel down, look into her eyes, ask how was your week. It was a small victory, not a revenge, but a restoration. I watched my sister relax for the first time in days, lean into them and say it was okay, but I missed you. They hugged her. We all sat down for dinner. My parents thanked me again, but this time more softly. They asked how I did. I said honestly, it was hard. They nodded, and we talked, and for the first time I saw them not as people leaving, but as people coming home to responsibility. The week ended. Monday morning, life resumed. My parents returned to their routine. I returned to mine. But things shifted. My sister seemed quieter, more thoughtful. She occasionally asked, "Are you going away too?" I smiled and said no, just off to work. My parents asked if the week was okay. I lied and said yes. I wasn't ready yet. Over the next few weeks, I monitored how things changed. My parents started doing weekend mornings with Lily, taking her to the park. Not like the full trip, but consistent time. I insisted we share photos of the capsule moment, and we dug it up. Laughed, cried, scribbled new letters. My parents apologized again, privately, and the bond between me and Lily, it deepened. I realized I had subconsciously stepped into a protector role. And while I didn't mind that, I also realized I missed the sibling dynamic we could have had, because I was the adult, unexpectedly. What did I learn? That abandoning someone doesn't just mean leaving them behind. It means forgetting they're still part of the world you left for. That being responsible is different than being present. My parents had the presence. They had the photos, the smiles, but they left the responsibility to me without acknowledging the weight of it. And I learned that when you step up, you carry more than tasks. You carry feelings, memories, trust. In the end, that week wasn't just a burden for me. It reshaped how my family functioned. So if I could say one thing, don't drop the people you love into someone else's lap without walking them to the door. Don't call it freedom when you're leaving someone behind.